Hello. That was weird. That was a weird hello. But hello anyway, guys. Thanks for joining me. We're actually in the kitchen, lunchtime. Well, it's actually before lunch, so we're talking about brunch time. I've not had breakfast yet. And I wanted to cook a dish for you. Never cooked it before. I'm kind of like making it up on the spot. I've got a few ingredients out. Whether I use all of them or not, I'm not sure. But yeah, so anyways, I've gone absolutely crazy. Well, I am absolutely crazy on noodles. I've always loved noodles. Growing up, we used to have the dole noodles. So any British-born Chinese will know what I'm talking about when we say dole noodles, because that was the brand that we could get. It was a little brown packet. I think it had like I'm pretty sure it had like a Chinese boy on it with one of the black hats. I could be wrong there. Maybe I'm just thinking, I don't know. So anyway, but dole noodles, and they were wonton flavored. Now, the closest I can remember getting to that we can get now is the Dime ramen chicken noodles, and they're very, very similar. But anyways, growing up, dole noodles were on the menu pretty much breakfast, lunch, dinner, snack time, midnight feast. So anyways, I'm cooking a noodle dish. I'm not doing ramen noodles. The noodles that I'm using today, and I have got another camera just set up here, so I'm hoping you can see that. Yes, you can see that. Is my, these are chow mein noodles actually, and these are the thin chow mein noodles. Now the thin chow mein noodles are used in the Cantonese restaurants, especially for when you're doing the crispy fried noodle, and then you have the meat topping on top. Obviously they can be used in other ways. I think they're number 2, so there are 2 varieties. You get number 1, number 2. Now one's thick and one's thin. This is the thin chow mein noodle, okay? And yeah, they're a staple. They're a staple definitely in my diet growing up, because I grew up right here where we're standing now, because this used to be Mum and Dad's restaurant. This was called the Panda restaurant, and we're in the Good Food Guide. This is where I trained to be a chef, cook, whatever you want to call me. And so yeah, so I'm going to do some thin chow mein noodles. I'm going to do it in a sauce. So the only cooking element really is rehydrating my noodles. So you can probably see on this camera, I have some homemade wontons. I made these yesterday. I did put the camera on, but yesterday I was shite. Literally, I could not get the words out of my mouth. So I might try and hash together some of the footage of how I put these wontons together, because this was going to be a whole different video on its own. But what I'm going to do, I'm going to have some of these wontons on top of my noodles, maybe with a little bit of chili oil sauce or something. And then I've got some Chinese Napa cabbage. So yeah, so I like my Chinese Napa cabbage, so you want a little bit of green in there. If I wasn't on camera, I probably wouldn't have the Napa cabbage. Noodles and wontons is all you need in life, I think. Okay, so I've got a pot of water boiling here. In the pot, I have my Chinese noodle basket. This also used to be Wontons. Wontons was a Hong Kong street food bar that I opened with Joe. And we specialised in noodle bowls, dumplings and beer. Not that I'm a drinker. And the biggest selling beer that we had were the little Buddha bottles, and they were in the shape of a Buddha. I think he had his hands up like this, and that was the shape of the bottle, green bottles and stuff. But basically we did wonton noodles, we did ramen noodles, we did udon noodles, we did har gow, siu mei, pot stickers, char siu bao, lotus bao, and that's kind of what we specialised in. It was at this point that my career started to take off a little bit, and down to some of the staffing issues that we had at the time, we decided that we couldn't manage the bar and really concentrate on writing books and doing the TV appearances and shows that we wanted to do. So we decided to close. But the property now has been transformed into our beautiful home. So where I'm standing used to be the restaurant, and just through there, which you can't see, used to be the kitchen. And then where Wontons was based was the bar, because when Mum and Dad had the restaurant here, they had a separate area just for the bar. So the first things we need to do, guys, is rehydrate our noodles. And then as the noodles are rehydrating, I'm going to make the sauce very quickly, because the noodles will only take about 2 minutes, if that. This is a very, very quick dish, hence why I'm waffling, because I want to try and get at least a 10-minute video out of this. Also, actually, going to YouTube. I've been posting on a Saturday morning, and to be quite honest with you, the videos haven't been doing great. So I've been looking at some of the other YouTubers out there that I watch, because I do watch a lot of YouTube nowadays. And they tend to post on either a Tuesday or Thursday night. So if I can get this edited in time, it might go out on Thursday at about 6:30 p.m. If not, it'll probably go out next Thursday. So the chances are there won't actually be a video this Saturday. Saturday at 9:30, for some reason, well, it's probably a bad time. People are getting up and getting ready to go out for the weekend, I guess. So the new time now for the YouTube videos will be Thursday at 6:30 p.m. Okay, if I manage to create 2 videos a week, I will put one out on a Tuesday at 6:30 p.m. as well. This is when you guys are getting home and maybe you need some food inspiration about what to cook for dinner. I'll try and do sort of like really simple dishes for you. I am going to concentrate a lot on noodles at the moment. The idea is to do as many noodle dishes as I can from the cookbooks. Now, I've written 7 cookbooks and there was number 8 which wasn't ever published, and I have loads and loads and loads of recipes in there which all include noodles. Okay, so in go my thin chow mein noodles, which are basically just a egg noodle made with wheat, and they don't have to be used for chow mein. They can be used for other dishes. This technically will be a lo mein dish, which is a wet noodle dish, because I am literally just going to create the sauce in here. And then put the noodles in and toss it through, and then we'll cook the wontons and have the veggies on top. But like I said, guys, I've got to be quite quick, because these only take, in fact, they're nearly done already. But what I'll do, I'll grab another bowl off camera and I'll put the noodles in there and just refresh them. Okay, guys, I was waffling on too much to make the sauce. So bear with me for 1 second while I pop into there, which is our pantry and storeroom, and I'll go and grab another bowl. I've grabbed one of our trusty melamine bowls. These are fantastic, guys. You can literally bounce them off the floor. Not that I'm going to do that, because as soon as I do, you can guarantee it a crack. But these are kind of plasticky melamine. Right, I'm just going to turn the water down. And that's it. That's our noodles done. That's how quick they are. Because they're thin and they're cooked already, they only take a couple of seconds to cook. But what I will do, guys, I'll leave them in the basket, just like that. And then we'll refresh those so they're nice and warm when we put them into the sauce. And just turning my cooker down. Now, for the sauce, we're going to be using this stuff. Now, I don't often use this for the reason it's got wheat in it, but obviously Joe can't eat these noodles because they're made of wheat anyway. So I've got a brand new jar of the, I think it's the chili bean sauce, or the doubanjiang sauce. You can just read that there, doubanjiang. Now, this is a chili bean paste, very Chinese. My dad loves this stuff. Now, who's heard of, I think of the dish now. Oh, what's that dish called? It's got the diced, well, it's got minced pork in it. It's got tofu. Oh my goodness, I can't remember the name of the dish. I'll try and, when I edit this, I'll probably just leave this little thing, what I'm trying to talk about. But this is mapo tofu. Mapo tofu. This is the sauce that you use when you're making mapo tofu. Okay, it's very umami, it's very spicy. It's got a real sour twang to it. You know, we talk about the 5 flavors of sweet, spicy, salty, bitter, and sour. Okay, guys, so this has got that sour note in there, all right? So, brand new jar. I'll just crack this open. This will now live in the fridge. And I've only got 1 packet of noodles, so I use about a heaped tablespoon of doubanjiang sauce, or chili bean sauce. So in that goes to my bowl. That can go off to one side. Of course, I want to put in a little bit more saltiness and flavour, and of course I'm using the Kikkoman soy sauce, and Kikkoman soy sauce is fantastic. Roughly a tablespoon of the light soy sauce. Again, an ingredient I don't use very often these days because Joe can't use it. This is my Shaoxing wine. I tend to use dry sherry nowadays because that hasn't got wheat in. This has got wheat in. About a tablespoon of Chinese wine goes in, and again, that's going to give it that funky aromatic taste. Oyster sauce just makes everything taste great. I don't normally put the bottle on onto my videos because obviously they're not sponsored. But yeah, but this is the brands that I use. I'm not going to say the brand, but this is the brand that I use all the time. It is the original. When I do my talks, I often do talk about the brand itself. So in goes about a tablespoon and a bit of oyster sauce, maybe just over a tablespoon. Now guys, you don't need to measure this out either. I'm only doing this so you can follow the recipe, but normally you put a little bit of this, a little bit of the other, and that goes in. Sweetness. We talked about the 5 seasonings, okay guys, or the 5 tastes. So sweetness is going to come from honey. This is just a cheap brand honey, guys. I've often talked about Chris Pantinelli here in Leicester. He keeps his own bees, and I've yet to go and see him and get some proper raw honey. But at the moment, I'm going to put in some cheap stuff, which is about 1.5 tablespoons of honey, okay? Purely for colour only. I'm now going to add just a little bit of dark soy, and I'll only put in about 1/4 teaspoon of dark soy sauce. Just wipe that. Still got that little bit of umami coming through on that one. Do I need chicken powder? You know what, chicken powder won't hurt. I'm going to use some of my chicken powder. Now chicken powder is the secret ingredient in a lot of Chinese restaurants and takeaways. It's used widely to inject flavour. It's got loads of E numbers in and MSG and whatever else, but it does make everything taste fantastic. And there's about 1/2 teaspoon of chicken powder that's going in. And then the last thing I've got out, which I'm just wondering whether I use it or not, I was going to use some rice vinegar, and I thought, oh, you know what, maybe, and I've got the sweetness from the honey, but I thought, you know, I might put a little bit of mirin in. Now, obviously, mirin's not a Chinese recipe, Chinese ingredient, it's more of a Japanese ingredient, but I'm just going to put in maybe 1/2 tablespoon, or maybe 1/4 tablespoon, which is about a teaspoon or thereabouts, of mirin, just to give it that viscosity and richness, I guess, that I'm looking for. Now, I'm going to mix all this together. And then what I'm going to do, I'm going to use a little bit of my noodle water, which is nice and hot. Once I've got it mixed together first. And then I'll just grab a ladle. And then using some of my noodle water, which is hot, about, what do you reckon? That's a small ladle of water that's gone into this. Let's give it a good mix. And it's now, I can try this. That's bloody lovely. Now remember guys, this is a sauce that I've never, ever, ever made before. I've just thought, I've gone into my pantry and I thought I'm going to a little bit of this, a little bit of that, and a little bit of the other. Okay, in goes my noodles again, just to refresh into that hot water. Let's get that back up to the boil. And it'll loosen the noodles as well. When the noodles sit for a while in the basket, what happens is they stick together because of the starch. But not this case now. So that's my noodles refreshed. I'll give it a little bit of shake. Doesn't matter if there's a little bit of water in the noodle because it is a wet dish anyway. And that can go into my sauce. Pop my spoon there, and what I'm going to do, I'm just going to toss my noodles through that sauce now. Right then, to cook the wontons and the veg. Now, wontons, again, I made these yesterday on camera, totally shite. Couldn't get my words out. And again, I might put that in either earlier when I was talking about it or now of how I made these. I am quite peckish, I've not had breakfast yet, so I'm going to do myself 8 wontons. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4. Do I really need to count them in? I'm just, so maybe I should count them in, or so I might put more in. How many was that? Was that a 4? Yeah, that's 4. 5, 6, 7, and 8. Now what I'm going to do guys with the rest of my wontons, obviously I'm keeping them covered up. They will sit in the fridge for about 3 or 4 days, or you can just pop them into a bag separate. Don't let them sit together, they've got to be separated. Freeze them. Once they're frozen, you can then just put them in another bag. All right, so maybe pop these on a tray, stick them in the freezer, and they will freeze and they will keep for about 3 months. Now, for those that didn't know, wontons translated into English means floating clouds. Okay, now they're called floating clouds because of the way that they bubble on top of the water or soup when they're cooked. Now normally you would have this in a wonton soup or a wonton noodle soup. You can of course eat them as I'm going to do, just on top of the noodles. Now floating clouds is a really good description of how you know when the wontons are cooked. Now if you can see on the camera, you can see that my wontons are very much sitting at the bottom of that basket. Now, once they start to cook through, they will start to float, floating clouds. So, and then once they start to float, I'd give them about another minute, maybe 90 seconds, just bubbling away on the top, just to make sure they're cooked all the way through. Now, these are king prawn wontons. I much prefer the king prawn wontons rather than the pork in king prawn wontons, which is traditional. I just like the way that they taste, the flavor. And in the video that I'm going to show you, or you've probably seen by now, you'll see the process of making sure that those prawns are nice and sticky, they're juicy, they're springy and crispy, which is all really weird since it's just king prawns. But you can see now, guys, that my king prawns are starting to float at the top of the basket. I'm just going to prep myself a little tiny bit of Chinese leaf. So you can obviously chop off the stalk, but I just tend to pull a couple of leaves off. And I just chop these through. They can go back in the bag and back in the fridge. I just grab my trusty homemade chopper and I'm going to chop this really, really fine. Now the reason being is that when I cook it, I'm going to then toss it through the noodle once it's warmed up. And that's my Napa cabbage. Kind of chopped. Oh, I didn't go all the way through there. It's terrible cutting, but there you go. You get the idea. There you go. I'm going to place my wontons into this bowl here, just so when I can toss the vegetables through the noodles as well. Yep, you see how they're floating now? And they've been floating for roughly a minute, maybe 90 seconds. They're cooked, so we'll just drain those off and just pour those into that bowl there. Back in goes my basket and I can put my Napa cabbage in. Now the only thing I'm going to do with the Napa cabbage is blanch it, so really, really quickly. So you only need literally 30 seconds in this water. I bring my noodle bowl back into shot and you can see that sauce now has been soaked up by those noodles. And I'm just going to toss the veg through the noodle. And I take my wontons and they can go over the top. Switch off the heat. But I'm just going to finish these off now just with a tiny little drizzle of sesame oil. There is sesame oil in the recipe. And there we have it, guys. Just check that camera. Yep. And I'll get a picture in a second as well. My brunch, which is thin chow mein noodles cooked in a doubanjiang or chili bean paste sauce with lots of other delicious ingredients in there, served with wontons and Napa cabbage. Nice and simple. This was real time. The only thing I did pre-switching the recorder on or the video on was get the water up to temperature, but if you boiled the kettle it would happen just as quickly. Okay guys, you definitely don't need a noodle bowl, a noodle basket, but it does make things a lot easier. I hope you try the recipe out, and don't forget guys, Thursdays 6:30 p.m. is my brand new time for my new videos, possibly Tuesdays as well. I've been creating a lot more sort of like Instagram reels as well, guys, which gets posted on Instagram and Facebook. So please do check out my social media and head over to my website, which is manwithawok.com. Thank you for watching, and I shall see you next time. See you later, guys. Bye-bye.